Florida building codes made a big difference for newer homes in Ian. Few reports show. You know how they say that we don't build houses like we used to? Well, these two reports about the opposite. They're saying that today we build better than used to, at least in Florida. Ian hit Florida a couple weeks ago. I actually took 2 trips to Florida myself. I've seen the devastation, how bad the area is after the hurricane, estimating $20 to $30 billion in damage, not included the flood. But if you look at any aerial imagery, if you look at pictures of both roofs and houses, you will see the difference. I love this picture. This comes from Insurance Journal. Take a look. 2020 house, intact, and a lot of houses that are built in 60s and 70s are completely gone. So the case is made that today we are building to better codes than we used to. Here's the quote from Mike Silvers, a roofing contractor and director of technical services for the Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Contractor Association. From what I saw, the structures and roof systems that were installed since the last couple of cycles of building codes did relatively well. 2 reports, one from university professors who studied the damage and one from CoreLogic, the data analytics company, agree. A preliminary report to the Florida Building Commission last week included an aerial photograph of Fort Myers Beach that gives a stark picture of modern building techniques. The graphic from State University of New York distinguished Professor Michael Bruneau tracked the age of homes on one beach area. It shows 18 homes built before 1981 that were completely wiped away by the storm. But one house built in 2020 appears to be almost unscathed. The home is elevated above much of the storm surge level, but the roof also looked undamaged. In the ground level photo of the 2020 built house, one can clearly see that storm surge punched through the elevated first floor and that the walls were made of concrete blocks with what appears to be reinforced concrete blocks posted around garage doors. Bruneau wrote on his LinkedIn page, "This clearly was not the case for the surrounding homes built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s." And wind map produced by Applied Research Associates shows peak wind gusts of 100 miles per hour at Fort Myers Beach and up to 120 miles per hour on part of nearby Sanibel Island, just to the northwest, according to the Building Commission report, which was submitted by David Privet of University of Florida and David Ruscha of Auburn University. Those wind speeds were somewhat less than what predicted by forecasters, but still powerful enough to cause significant damage across parts of Florida. Hurricane Ian was tied for the 5th strongest hurricane to hit the U.S. mainland, CoreLogic meteorologist Curtis McDonald noted. In a webinar last week, CoreLogic showed that wind losses in Lee County, one of the coastal areas with the most damage in Ian, were twice as high for structures built before 1996, when the state began tightening building codes for wind load. So a couple of weeks ago, we actually did take a trip to 2 Florida cities, and I talked to 2 Florida contractors. One was metal contractor, another one is doing both architectural shingles and metals and some other products. Here's the interesting observation that I want to leave with you guys, and I want you to comment, what do you think about it? We actually did a review of Temco shingles on the roof in Florida in an area that was damaged by Ian. I want you to think about it. We do have better products. If you look at the picture, you will see the difference between good roof and bad roof. On paper though, both products will look the same. On paper, they both will withstand 130 mile per hour winds. Now, even when strongest hurricanes hit the land, the winds are 100 to 120. I mean, I want you to really think what's happening in the country today. We have building codes that are getting better and better, but we do have another problem that no one's talking about, that materials, building materials, are only improving on paper, unfortunately. So most asphalt shingles products have 130 mile per hour warranty. GF announced unlimited wind warranty. Don't know how to interpret it, it's just a fact. And with 130 mile per hour wind warranty, you would think that roofs would be intact. Now, my observation is, do not read the warranty, do not buy into marketing promise, but go and travel or study areas that's been affected by strong winds or affected by hail. If you're living in a hail area and considering to buy class 4 impact resisting shingles, or have superior roof on your house, because those pictures tell a better story. They are showing what works and what doesn't work. United States today, building material world at least, is full of misled information, marketing gimmicks. I don't know how you guys gonna call it, but I call it out when I see it. I see a lot of builders buying cheaper products who still will pass the code. Like today in Florida, you can install asphalt shingles, no problem. It will pass the code because on paper, those roofs will qualify as a building material product. Now, if you look at the pictures here, roofs that are standing, usually metal roofs, and here's what I think took place also in the last 20-30 years. Shingle manufacturers, who are the biggest player in the roofing industry, it's 80% of the market, they could not compete with metal, so they had to improve on paper, because the competition is happening at the kitchen table when homeowner is making decision, and that homeowner making decision based on presentation. So what took place 10-20 years ago when metal was evolving, shingle manufacturer, I think, had to reply. They have to compete with metals, because you cannot compete based on real results. Metal will always beat you if you're asphalt shingle. So they increase first their warranty from 30 years to 50 to match metal. Funny enough, metal shingles on paper usually have 40 years, some of them have 50 years. So they even bypassed life expectancy or promise how long it will last. But second, they start increasing their wind warranties. When you look at the pictures of hurricane damage, you will see that mostly it's metal, it's some rubber shingles, and a few others. When we took a trip to South Dakota this summer, we talked to plenty of homeowners who had asphalt shingles before, and now they went with the EaroShield. EaroShield invited us, and you know, when you actually go into the area after the hail, after the event, and you see two roofs next to each other, one is damaged, one is not, that's the best advertising. The reason I wanted to make this video about this article, so yes, we are improving the codes, but we also have builders and contractors who are using cheap products. And just because you're meeting the code does not mean that roof will stand later on. So you have to both make sure that code is applied, and that's another legal, technical legal issue even in Florida, because if your home was built, let's say in 80s or 90s, but you are replacing it today, the question is, do insurance company owe you for code that built in 80s or 90s, or have to bring you up to code what it requires in 2022? They're trying to fix that, solve that problem in Florida today, because lawmakers in May approved Senate Bill 4D, which changed the building code to allow repair of roof services in most cases if less than 25% of the service area is damaged. The previous code on the state law often required insurance to pay for entire roof replacement if just a small section was damaged. But the statute did not address the key question: must the repair section of roof meet current building code requirements, or can it be repaired to the code that was in effect when most of the roof was installed? So my conclusion to this story is actually this picture. If you want this house that was built in 2020, you have to study how it was built. You have to study the material, the code, the techniques. You have to go after what works. You need to stop listening to manufacturers who is improving their products on paper, because that's what a lot of salespeople are doing. I see so many advertisements that our product met Florida code. It's prestigious because everybody knows that Florida code is the best in the country. And if you have a product that meets that code, means you have superior product. But look at the picture, look at the houses that survive. Do not believe what they put in writing. Do not believe the commercial, do not believe the product on paper. Believe the product on a picture after the hurricane. Because pictures don't lie, numbers don't lie. I absolutely love this graphic, and when I travel, it always fascinates me how many contractors are using builder's grade shingles. I don't understand why they're doing it. I mean, the difference sometimes 5-10% of the cost of the materials, which is less than 5% of the project. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it to do such a disservice to your homeowner? Because once it's gonna get destroyed, you will be probably out of business too. You're not going to be replacing that roof twice. And if you're using cheap materials and doing cheap work, I promise you, people probably going to be tired of you and not going to hire you again anyway to redo it. So do what's right. Let's build the houses that will survive hurricanes, hail damage. Comment below what you think about this topic. I read all of my comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.